And in a different scene from last time when we spoke, we had talked about Akashic Records
A little bit,
and
yeah.
a little bit. And I was very intrigued. And you said that we could do a live reading, and you're going to explain, if I'm butchering it all, about how we're doing this. I
Yeah,
just
well,
love this stuff. I love anything very well, not so secretly if I say this, but super spiritual guy who, I mean, I've done everything from 10-day silent meditation retreats to
mhm.
healing circles. And I just give me the open door and I will just jump on through it with both feet. So I love
As you
this.
did.
Yeah.
And I
And
didn't
I'm,
know that. I didn't know because this is such a very specific level of spirituality
yeah,
that
yeah,
not everyone who does like yoga or meditation is like, yeah, yeah, this is for me. And when I
yeah,
mentioned it, you were just like, you just I just saw you go like,
yeah,
and I'm like,
yeah.
well, okay, you know, I can do this. We can do this. Yeah.
No, so there's a friend of mine wrote a book and she said it starts with open.
Oh, I love that. I always think curiosity, but maybe curiosity is being open.
Oh, maybe curiosity is going through the open door, but um,
Yeah, because fear, when the door is open, when the door opens, like you can also respond with fear. So
yeah,
openness means nothing. Like oh, there's openness, and then there's
yeah,
how do you deal with like
yeah, yeah,
is it fear? Is it oh what is that?
yeah. Thus,
Yeah.
it starts with open. Then you can
Yes.
choose. Do you want to go
Because
through the
oh
door or not, or run
yeah,
away?
open gives you an option.
Yeah.
And then you
So,
decide, do I back away or do I look what it is?
yeah,
Do I follow this curiosity?
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you say how not everybody is into this or even open to this. And I think if you have some pretty heavy events happen in your life, and depending on how you react to them, it may or may not, because that's what happened to me. All of my spiritual journey, sorry, I can never say that without whiny accent. Spiritual journey, my spiritual journey began when my dad passed away. And
That's
it
very
actually began
common.
before he passed away because I was looking, like, frankly, I was looking to save him. How could I help him in any way? Western medicine, anything, and everything in between, and far above and far below. And I just went off the deep end, uh, trying anything and everything, any way I could help him. And of course, what happened is that I got into it and I learned, and my door was opened, and I jumped right on in because I had a clear goal. How can I help my dad? And
Yeah.
even if it's how can I help my dad transition
Mhm.
from life to death?
I think that's
And
such,
I did, by the way.
and I
It
think
really
because
helped.
I think the moment you move from Western medicine to Eastern
Yeah,
um, way of perceiving life, you almost automatically move from helping him is not saving him, but it
yeah,
can mean how do I help him pass
yeah,
onto the next phase.
yeah,
So I was
yeah.
immediately thinking, and then I think like what I've learned from I've become much more chill about life because of the Akashic Records, because I
Oh, wow.
understand now that there are like literally, if I cannot do it this life, there will be another life,
Yeah,
right? So if I cannot solve something, like let's say you have some karma with a person, or
yeah,
like a karmic contract with a person, and this person is not on that level this life that they can do this with you, right? They maybe you can heal your part, but if they're not ready to heal their part in this
yeah,
lifetime, then some people are like they get really upset about that. But I'm much more, well, you know, hopefully we can fix it next life. Like I did
yeah,
my part. They're not doing their part, which is fine. It's their journey,
yeah,
right? So maybe we can do it next life. But it also made me much more relaxed about what do I want to achieve in this life because I'm like, my essence will move on, my soul.
yeah,
So I'll just do the best I can to evolve to sort of the highest level I can reach in this life.
yeah,
And then when my life is over, that will just be passed on. And then hopefully, of course, my next reincarnation is a bit quicker on the uptake, that you can actually reach back to all these previous lives and learn from that. Yeah. That's
So
always a bit of a
you just said, for example, next life, transition, reincarnation, past lives, go back to the past lives. It's so funny. Before my dad had passed away, or was even in his last years or months, this conversation we wouldn't even be having. I'd be like, what are you talking about? You're weird. Whereas not only now do I not think you're weird, I just think it's not only fascinating, I feel bad for the people who cannot embrace this or at least be open to it. And and I'm not saying you need to fully jump in with both feet, and I always joke about how you need to move to Nepal and wear an orange robe and live in a monastery. You don't need that. How much of it in your life do you want? And I usually find, like, for me, I call meditation medication, right? It's one letter away from medication. And if I don't take my meditation in the morning, I don't have as good of a day. And the more thorough and better my meditation is in the mornings, the better my day is. It's a clear corollary.
And I do think that meditation is medication.
Yeah. Yeah.
To
Absolutely.
a certain extent. Like I'm also not one of those people who are like, oh, you have cancer, well, if you meditate enough, right? I'm not one of those who are like, let's disregard Western medicine entirely, because those people have also been inspired, right? So people who've invented certain things, they have been, right, they got the messages, like penicillin. Who the hell thinks that? Like, I'm like, how do these things get invented? Now I kind of think that these people just, like, they call it downloads. Like, just, there's a little something just sort of like put into your brain, and then you're like, aha, let me try this. Where did it come from? We don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
And so many of those inventions or discoveries came by accidents, right?
Yeah. I'm like, how many people died before they discovered bread, right? Like, what can you eat and what can't you eat, right? But
people died.
Can you I'm just like, let me try this. Oh, don't eat that berry because, Garrett didn't make it. But it does make me think, like, do sometimes, like, is there also a gut feeling that you go through the forest and you're like, no, I'm just gonna not try that. And then maybe somebody else is like, why don't I try this one? And you're like, no, I wouldn't. And then the person dies. You're like, I knew this already. Right?
Yeah.
Because we do have, of course, the gut feeling, and the heart is very perceptive about what we should avoid and what not. But yeah, so I do think that when you say that, I think that is very much, like, I love that, the meditation, medication. But like I said, like, I do not think, I think the combination, I think we can prevent a lot through having that kind of balanced life and doing like energy work and stuff like that. But I also think that sometimes diseases, this sounds really awful. Sometimes diseases, I'm not sure, I don't want to say need to happen, but often people get a purpose after it. Or because of it, or so I'm not entirely sure whether I can, like, the whole everything happens for a reason thing. I don't think that is necessarily true. I think some things just happen, but we are not okay with these things until we have given them a purpose. So we give them a reason in hindsight. I think that is more. So I don't think, this Palestine, I don't think that needs to happen for a reason. But I think we can all learn from it. I mean, I hope we finally do, because it doesn't look like the actual people who with any say are learning the lesson hard enough right now. But those things, I don't want to be like, that we needed that as humanity. It's more like, okay, this is apparently how far we've gone in the bad sense of the word. Like, this is how far we've removed ourselves from, the loving light beings that we are inside. So let's learn from that then. Let's say, okay, if this happened for a reason, what is the reason? What can we learn from this? That's kind of how I try to view life. Yeah. But I don't like saying these children needed to die, or your kid brother needed to have that accident, or your mom
Right.
needed to die when you were young. Like, but what we often see is that because these things happen, like you got this whole door opened
Yeah.
because your dad died, doesn't
Yeah.
mean that this is why your dad
Right.
died,
Right. Or that he
right?
needed to for me to
Yeah,
say,
so that I
yeah,
find really, I try to be careful saying
yeah,
everything
I
happens for a
agree.
reason. No, we can give everything a reason
Yeah.
afterwards.
Yeah.
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 And I do think that these things shift, but I don't think they need to happen. I think that is the thing. It's like I think things just sometimes they're like sometimes we need to meet people and the universe will make it happen. But there
Yeah.
are definitely things that I'm like, no, that is just bad luck. Like this person wasn't listening to this, and this person wasn't listening to their guidance, and then that's when bad things happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Somebody is not listening to their intuition, so they're not driving at the right speed, and this kid is distracted and right accident.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I try to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Fun.
Completely
Cool.
different topic. Well,
No,
slightly
related.
related. Yeah,
Yeah.
related. Yeah.
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 Okay.
So where do we start?
I have no idea. Where do we start?
Do you
I
know what
have
do you know what the Akashic Records are?
no, good. That's a good place to start. Let's start there. No,
You know
I
that I
don't.
love that about 99% of the people that I work with have no idea what the Akashic Records are. They're just like, this sounds interesting. We want to work with you. I really love that. Because I always kind of assume that you show up because you already know what something, but they're like, no, what is it actually? It's just, I just felt this pull to work with you.
Yeah.
So what is it you actually do? Like I was just meditating, but I don't know why. Or like, oh, great. Well, let's start from the beginning. Um,
Yeah.
so the Akashic Records, I see them as kind of this massive archive. And they exist on a metaphysical level. It's not like you can drive there, take a train, and then just enter. It's on a metaphysical level, so on a higher dimension. And I say archive because, as the name implies, it's called Akashic Records. Everything all our souls do in each and every lifetime is recorded there.
Oh, okay.
So you can go in, and so time doesn't exist there, right? So it's past, present, and future all in one. So you can go in there and look at, okay, so this is something that I'm struggling with right now. Where does this come from? And it could be that it happens from in this particular life, right? You can have blocked something from an early childhood that is now coming up for you that you need to work through. But sometimes it's, oh, this is something that I took with me from a past life. So when you go into the records, it's literally just rows and rows of books. So you can actually grab a book, open it, and see. So it's when I say an archive, I mean it's like a library,
Oh, wow.
and that's also how I visualize it. So I'm always
Okay.
working with books. I always get like I come in and I ask, okay, this person is struggling with this or has this question about this. What is where is the book that I need? Right. And sometimes the book
Yeah.
just falls into my lap, and sometimes I have to go through a little bit of a search. It very much depends on how open the person actually is to receiving the answers, because sometimes there's a little bit of resistance. That means I go
Yeah.
like through a maze. Sometimes, so in the Akashic Records, we have record keepers. From what I understand, from what I've been taught, the record keepers are members of our soul family who are not currently incarnated. So they keep track of the records, right? So it's very possible that during the moment when we are not reincarnated, so when we're not on this earth, that we also fulfill that role in other people's records, people of our soul family. So sometimes I come across very reluctant record keepers because they're like, why are you here? And what are you? And that sometimes means it's a very big thing for a person. So then I have to sort of explain, like, okay, so this is why I'm here. Like, I was invited in here. Like,
Wow.
I recently had that. That was really one why are you? Like, what do you want? And they were really afraid that I was going to ask the wrong questions. Which was great because that in that particular reading that guided me, because when I didn't get any answers, I was like, oh wait, this I already got the message like that this person was afraid it was not going to ask the right question. So I was like, oh, I needed to tweak that. And then just this door opened. I was like, oh, there are all the answers. That's great. So that was a really good warning, actually. So how I do this, so I have my own method. A lot of readers do this face to face. So we have a Zoom call, you have a question, we tweak the question till it's like usable in the records, and then we go in together and then we find the answer to your question. I like to do a reading. I like to do an offline reading. So I go in the hour before and I always invite the person I'm reading for to just meditate during the time, or just, you know, if that's not your thing, just sit on the couch with a cup of tea or with your cat or whatever. Just take the time for yourself. That is not necessary. It's not like my reading is not going to work if you're running around at work. That's not the case. It's just nice to take that time for yourself. And then afterwards, I do the call and I just basically report what came to me, and then we talk through it. So that's, I already went into your records. I'm already out of your records. And now we are gonna walk through what came up for me. And I'm really curious because this is the thing for me, because I do this first part offline. When we do it together, I can immediately see if it resonates. And now I have 4 pages of notes. I'm like, let's see what's going to resonate with Bradley today. Because you might be like, no, that doesn't sound like me at all. Or that doesn't resonate. So that's a bit of the tricky. I always feel like I'm always also jumping, right? Like this is trust for me. Like, let's just see. And sometimes it is, sometimes things don't resonate, and it's just because a person is not ready to hear that, which I find really interesting, because what we know about the Akashic Records is that if people are afraid of that, like if they're afraid of like it's not like Pandora's box, right? It's they will deliver the messages that you're ready to hear. So if there is, so it's also, if you want to know, if you want to look ahead, like, okay, what is next for me? How can I achieve that, etc., etc. They might not show you everything. They will just show you what you need to know right now so that you stay on course, right? Yeah. So it's not like there will be questions that I didn't have that with you in this case, but sometimes somebody has a question and I ask it and I just feel like I run into a wall. And if I keep repeating the question, they will kick me out of the records. Because there are certain things that are very simple. You're not there yet, so you're not getting the answer. And sometimes it's just a case of it's not relevant. So again, you're asking the wrong question. So you're not, this is not the route, like pivot, ask something else or something related. And then, oh wait, that's how I needed to ask that. So it really is a conversation. And I'm literally sitting here with my notebook, talking to myself. That's what people will see when they walk past my house. Talking to, like, I literally have a conversation out loud with the records. Yeah. Like I really do that. Yeah. So that's kind of, I had a guest recently, and that was the first time I did a reading while somebody else was in the house, and I did not like that. I did feel limited. So I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that again. If somebody is here, because I have visitors sometimes, the perk of living on a rare island in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea. People actually want to come here and go to the beach and stuff. I will actually kick them out of the house next time, because that was not pleasant for me. Like it was doable, but I was like, I'm very aware of the person in the house. Okay, so what I always do, so when I go into anyone's records, I always end up in a different place. So everybody has their own personal kind of library for me. And I'm pretty sure that if somebody else does your records, they will see something different. I don't think it's for some reason, this is how I see it. So this is completely irrelevant, but I always like sharing what I saw. And sometimes it is relevant, sometimes it isn't. So let's just start there. What I got when I got into your records, I very much felt like industrial meets a lot of plants. So there was like a lot of high ceilings, lots of steel, but then there was also a lot of plants. And then eventually, as I started sort of walking into this space, I realized the back just disappeared into the forest. So it's like, it didn't feel like the forest was taking over the building, or the building was, encroaching upon, it was very much like they were in balance.
Wow.
Like, so that was interesting, because I would assume that, you know, the either nature is taking over or the building is,
Yeah.
you know, encroaching upon the nature. But it was very much like, no, there was very much a sense of peace, that there is this huge
Nice.
it was a huge building.
Wow.
And then there's, you know, half of it was sort of like taken over, or maybe it was actually built into the forest. So the forest was being taken into account when it's not an actual building, of course, right? It's all on the metaphysical level. And I didn't really get, like, I was sort of like at the first floor, just like, because sometimes I enter into an office space and I was like, okay, that didn't happen. I just stood there like, okay, is anyone here? So then if that happens, I just I gave you a form. So I said, okay, this is what I'm here for. These are Bradley's struggles. These are the questions that I have. And that's when I was led to this sort of nook. It really felt like sort of a loft space. That's how it was. It was like an open space, but there were like these nooks made. So there was this nook, and it had like a couch, and it had like a coffee table, and there were a stack of books on there. So I'm like, okay, books, that's my corner. So I started with the question, why does Bradley struggle with focus? Because your question, like the question on the form is, what is currently your biggest or most persistent struggle? And you said focus. So I immediately got the sense that this is an old pattern. So I immediately saw like a sort of timeline of like past lives, right? Like this sort of dun, 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 like this is not something new. This is very much part of your system.
Yeah.
And then the message I got, but it's not the same as attending to everything all at once, right? Which some people do. They attend to everything, so they attend to nothing. I really got the message that that's not what's going on. It's not that you're so distracted and you're working on everything that you're not getting that. That's not because that happens with some people, of course, right? You attend to everything, which means that nothing is getting your full commitment or the focus that it needs. So I really got the message that's not what's going on here.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is going on is it's more that there's too much inside of you and it just wants to get out.
Yeah.
That's what I get. So it's not like you don't know how to, you don't know, it's not like you have struggle like, oh, what is important to attend to? It's more like there's so much important.
Yeah.
And it just needs to, that's really the sense I got, this sort of like bubbling over. So I asked, is there an origin for this, or has Bradley always been like that? And then I got this live. So we're talking, this is old stuff. I cannot tell you how many 100 years back. Maybe even 1,000, I don't know. So the first thing I got was taste of freedom. That was the first message I got. And what I got was that after multiple reincarnations, so very early on, your first incarnations, there was no space for creativity. Like literally. And that I didn't get why. It could be poverty, or just being in a strict household, or everybody just had their job. And there was just no space for that, because creativity is sort of like, you can only do that when your basic needs are being met.
Yeah.
Because creativity is the second chakra level, and the first chakra is your right to exist and the fear of survival. So if you're surviving, you cannot rise up to the second chakra. So you do not have that creative impulse, because there's no space for that. So after these multiple reincarnations where there was no space, your soul decided, I have enough of this. So they picked a family that was almost the exact opposite. And it wasn't, I first thought maybe because they were really wealthy, so they could give you everything. That was not it. It was not like they could give you everything. It was more that they allowed you to have that space to sort of tinker away. And they gave you the encouragement. And I really got this sense that whoever your father was in this lifetime was a bit like an inventor, but a bit like, somebody in the village who's like, everybody's a bit like, yeah, the guy's, maybe he's useful. He's a bit weird because he's always, doing his little things. But he's useful. And sometimes he, like, let's say one out of the 10 things he invents are actually useful. So we do pay attention to him. We have a certain respect for him, but we're also like, we don't really get this guy. Right. I got the feeling that was your dad. Right. So there was a lot of and there was a lot of time you could spend with him in the workshop, because Like he loved that just, and he was very focused. So he was just like doing his thing, and you got to see that and do that as well. So then I asked, okay, this sounds like a gift actually, right?
Yeah.
So, but has this always felt like a gift to Bradley?
Yeah.
And then I got it. It was a struggle every time you ended up in a situation that was more rigid and structured. And I got this life. I cannot tell you when this was. When you were working as a soldier, I don't think that was a voluntary thing. I think that was more of a, you're of a certain age and you need to.
Yeah.
And you were like the odd one out, right? All the men had the same sort of, this is what we do when we're not fighting or when we're not training. And you were just always doing like always doing something, creating something, writing something, and not like the obligatory letters to the girlfriend or the mother, but other things. And they were just like, they didn't quite know how to deal with you. So that's when these things were a struggle, when you were forced to be in a more rigid pattern, right? So I asked, okay, why does it feel like a struggle now in this particular lifetime? Because you're not a soldier. You have the freedom to create right now.
Yeah.
So this is interesting because I'm like, that is a really very specific answer. I'm wondering how much this resonates. I got that you are much more aware of your mortality this lifetime.
Yeah.
And also then, so he hasn't had to think about leaving a legacy before. There's never been the space. And I don't know whether that was because you never reached a certain age. So it wasn't on your radar. And I also got, Bradley's also much more conscious of reception. So how his work might be perceived than he was ever before. So I really got the sense that you often do this for yourself. And now it's much more like outward focused. Like I bring something to the world, and then what do the people think of that? So I asked, why is Bradley so much more aware and conscious of it in this lifetime? And I got seeing the world as an oyster. There's freedom that you haven't had before. And then that freedom also comes with a certain limitation. And this is where it became really sort of vague and very intertwined. I got that back. So all those lives, it was just part of who you were, right? It was just sort of like who you were. And now it is what you do. So, but at the same time, it was never, so I said, it's, this is where I was like, what are you trying, what are they trying to show me? Other people didn't perceive it as, this is who you are, right? That was just something that you did when everything else was tended to, and you had the freedom to just, do your thing. So it was very much, it feels like a bit of like a contradiction to me. But the difference between it's just something that is part of you to this is something that I do, that I actively put into the world, that's the difference.
Okay.
And so I asked, and this is, I already told you before you hit record that some Freud came in. How does that affect Bradley's creative process right now? And so this is, I think I got it through a Freud explanation because I'm very familiar with psychoanalysis. But so this is how Freud and also Jacques Lacan explain the process of becoming into the world, of becoming a subject. There's a child and the mother. So there's a child and the mother, and it's symbiosis. And then the father intervenes, and then you get the triangle.
Okay.
So it's the father who makes the break between the child and the mother, because the child and the mother are this. So how they wanted me to explain that is that before, you and your creativity were like, you had the symbiosis. And in this life, something came in, and and this is so the father creates the separation between mother and child. So in this life, something came in that made you separate from your creativity. So now there is a bit of a distance. So you understand that you and your, I think your creativity and you are still the one, but for some reason, it feels like in this life, it is what you do. So what I got was that in this life, you are being asked to define it, to give it meaning. And you can only give meaning to something once it's been separated from you. This is also
Okay.
before we hit record, I also said it becomes a bit philosophical. This is what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So you are asked this life to think about it. And that to think about something, you have to put it outside of yourself.
Okay.
That's what I got. So and because I'm like I'm all for philosophy, but I also like practical answers. So I asked again, okay, so but how does that affect Bradley's process, like on a day-to-day,
Yeah.
right? Because that's what we
Yeah.
want to know.
Yeah.
And then I got the answer because he measures things by standards that aren't necessarily his own.
Mm.
So that was an interesting one for me.
Yeah.
Does that resonate?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
For
because
sure.
for
Yeah.
me, knowing you, I was like, really? So I was like, okay. So that, because
Yeah.
that was like when I got like, okay, can we get this in normal language? Normal. What was the effect of this whole process of the sort of like the symbiosis being broken? So then, because you mentioned perfecting, and that was a really interesting thing. That's why I love the form, because I can pick things from that.
Yeah.
Just from people are just typing. I was like, oh, let's. I just sort of like home in on certain things. I'm like, this is interesting. So I asked, okay, what is it about perfecting certain things that doesn't speak to Bradley? Because that's what
Yeah.
you said. You said, what did you say? You said, oh, you love, like, you want to create new things instead of perfecting one thing.
Yeah.
That's what you said. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, so what is it that doesn't speak to you necessarily? And I got that you haven't embraced that as part of the creative process.
The perfecting part. I haven't
Yes.
embraced that part as part of the creative process.
Yes. And I see this a lot with because I'm an editor as well. I see that a lot. Like there's people who love the editing process and there's people who just love the first draft process, right? And most people who love the white page and just typing new words, they feel very unproductive when they're in the editing phase. And it's because they haven't yet embraced that, like writing a book, it is part of that process. So that's the same. I kind of got like, oh, that's kind of the similar answer here. And then I asked, okay, so why hasn't he? Like, why hasn't he embraced that? And then I got, because, and this is where my handwriting fails me. Okay, I got it. Okay, so you created because you were creative, right? It was never before this life, it was never something that you wanted to put into the world with intent. So you haven't embraced it yet because you are still getting used to taking it seriously.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Yeah.
So I asked, okay, so but now that's what he's doing. Now he's trying to bring something into the world with intent. And I got,
Yeah.
yes. And that means professionalizing it. That means taking that next step.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got, okay, so is that the thing? Is the professionalizing, which is of course very much connected to the perfecting.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Is that what Bradley is resisting? Yes, that's what I got. So I'm like, okay, so why? Why does he resist that? And then, so this now I'm really curious what your answer is going to be. I got, because he hasn't figured out, like at the very deepest core of him, why he does what he does. He's never had to define it before. It was always something he got away with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a very deep one. Does that resonate?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah,
because I was like, that's kind of the Akashic records aren't mean because they're like they're for your optimal growth. But I was like, I wonder how he's gonna say when I'm like, because you haven't figured out why you do what you do,
yeah,
and you get away with it. That's the really like it's something you always got away with.
yeah,
So I feel like the sort of beating around the bush kind of feeling, right? Like because you mean you are a smooth talker,
yeah,
so you can sort of wind your way
yeah,
around this conversation. So I asked, okay, does Bradley need this in his life to get where he wants to be? And I got yes, but he also needs to keep the play. So
yeah,
don't go overboard in like so I was like, how do I explain it? And then I got you need to have this balance between taking yourself too seriously and not seriously at all. So you need to ask yourself, um, at what level are you taking yourself seriously enough? So where is that
yeah,
balance for you between taking yourself way too seriously and not taking yourself seriously at all? Like where is do you need to find that middle ground? Like where are
yeah,
you? Where is that for you? Because there is a middle ground, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, can I give an example?
yeah.
So before we recorded, I was just saying how I've been doing a lot more public speaking,
Mhm.
which I'm thoroughly enjoying. And in typical Bradley fashion, I I I could give a speech every week. I could give a new talk every day. Because like you say, I'm just a creating machine. And that's me. That's who I am. And that's how I like it. I like it that way. I'm happy to give a new talk every day. I have a new idea every day. And like you said, at some point, well, like the one father in one of the stories, you said he creates 10 things. One of them is useful or practical for the village or whatever, and
Yeah.
nine maybe not so much. And that's fine. I'm good with those odds. I like those. But I also like creating the 10 things. And I don't know which one when I start, which one of the 10 is going to be the one, or which of the 100 is going to be really the one, or which one of the 1,000 is really going to be the one. And so, but like you say, I've just been plodding along doing that, and that's been fun because I enjoyed it. This is how I get my energy. This is how I get my creativity by creating.
Mhm. Yeah, of
So
course.
I make more, and I just get more.
Mhm.
One idea leads to more ideas and more talks and more books. So so recently, like I was saying last weekend, I was in a competition for public speaking. And so for this one, I didn't have to give the same speech as I did previously at previous levels, but I wanted to because I had practiced it quite a bit. And so this one talk, I must have rehearsed it, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 times. And I never do that. Just like books, I write them, they're done, bye bye. I don't over edit, I don't over analyze, and I'm on to the next topic. But this example of this competition where I wanted to do well and I wanted to, okay, well, this gets a little bit interesting because as I told you, according to the public, I won the competition,
Mhm.
right? According to the jury, I did not. And so this is a little bit related to what you were saying earlier. Like, why am I doing this? Who's it for? Is it for me? Is it for someone else? Who's the audience? And in this answer, I think a very practical answer here would be, I'm doing it for the audience. I'm not doing it
Mhm.
for the jury. Because
Yeah.
I know enough about this particular organization. And I know the jury wants these certain things and they will check boxes. And that I didn't necessarily check all the boxes. And I consciously knew I was doing that, but I'm going for the audience. So, however, previously, real Bradley or deeper Bradley, I don't even do the competition. I just create a new talk every day.
Yeah.
And so, but this is really interesting now because you're saying find that balance between the professionalism and the play. And I can see that. And I've been way in play zone. I've written 39 books and probably 38 of them are in play zone. And one, it's my bestseller, the one that sells the most, is on the more professional side. Using the words you're using, professional, right?
Mhm.
I did more to work through
There's
it.
a different intent behind it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that
And
is the
yeah,
professionalism is an intent, right?
yeah, yeah. And it's interesting. We're talking, here we are mid 2024, and this is a recent phenomenon for me, what you're talking about. This finding this balance, and which side do I want to go on? Do I want to just stay in the playground and just play all the time? Because like you said, I've been getting away with it. Or do I want to or need to shift to the more professional for the reasons, what are the reasons? Why
Yeah.
do I want to do that?
And I love that your records say that the shift is not like this. It's more
Yeah,
like,
yeah, uh, yeah, yeah,
right? It's not
yeah,
like, oh, I've been doing this, I need to do this. No, it's like,
yes,
okay, I need to stay in the play.
yeah,
But, and
yeah,
to me, this is also about taking yourself seriously and honoring yourself and your own
yeah,
potential,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because if the thing is, if you were happy living the life like your dad in some very old life did, right? Just,
yeah,
tinkering about a bit. Sometimes, you have a win, and sometimes people look at you
yeah,
like you're insane for inventing this thing.
right,
If, but you are clearly seeking for more.
yeah,
So then the
yeah,
question becomes, how do I get? And so if you were not seeking for more, I'd be like, there's nothing wrong with what you're doing.
right,
Keep having fun.
yeah,
But so now the question becomes, how can you keep having fun, but just pivot more towards, but I can have, where do I, where's the line between I'm still having fun, but I also honor my
yeah,
true abilities?
yeah,
And and for me, and this is what since I started working with the records, believing more and more, everybody came, I mean, I already believed it. Now I feel it. Everybody came here for a particular reason. So are you going to honor that or not? I
yeah,
think that's the balance. And like I said, it's not from play to this.
right,
It's more
right. I
like if
I
you're here
could never do
now,
that.
it's more like, okay, can we find the middle ground? So that's not a massive shift. That's just so you don't have to be this person. And I don't think you are that person.
I'm not, and I couldn't be. I could act it, I suppose.
Yeah, don't, that's not, we don't want that, because the
No,
reason I think your audience, like, I love that the audience is like, yeah, you clearly won, because I think that's way more important than what the jury thinks,
exactly.
because
Yes,
jury assessment is from the head. A
yes,
lot of it is from, I'm sure
yeah,
they also look at how things enter,
yeah,
right? But an
yeah,
audience isn't thinking about form and
right,
structure and whether you're
yeah,
hitting all the right notes, right? The
yeah,
audience just knows, is this resonating? Yes or
yeah,
no?
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
And that could be, and this is interesting because I got the question afterwards from people who they know the organization, they know me, and they say, "So, Bradley, if you could only choose one, what do you want? Do you want to win over the audience or win over the jury?" And of course, my answer is, well, both. But if I could really only choose one, I'd rather have the audience. Another comment I got was the audience is the real world. The jury is this particular organization on this particular day and these particular people.
With
You know,
certain like they have like a paradigm
yeah,
and parameters,
yeah, yeah,
right? They have a particular view.
yeah,
These people are there because they look at the world through a particular lens,
yes,
and they
yeah,
just want to see whether you fit that lens or not. So it's like,
exactly.
no,
Yeah,
and that's
right.
not. So that is exactly not. That's the world. If you're like in a job interview,
Yeah,
do I
yeah,
fit with what these people want of me?
yes,
But
yeah,
if you want to engage a particular audience, then that's what you should focus on.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I get that because I remember the shift. I'm getting to that age. I remember when we got the shift in all those talent shows where they started moving from just a jury to that the
Uh-huh.
audience also got a vote.
Oh, right, right. Yeah, like Eurovision
And
Song
that is
Festival.
stuff like that. Yes. And I'm thinking X Factor, like all those shows that
Right.
started in the Netherlands. Um,
Yeah,
like that's like that was a very, I remember that we could text message if we wanted this singer to win.
Yeah.
That was like
Yeah.
and that was like a teenager, I think, at the time. So that's a very particular that they also understood that there is a difference between how somebody sort of like how a jury sees someone and
Yeah.
how people
Yeah.
living, breathing, you who do not have these particular notions about what a good
Yeah.
performance is or why they
Yeah.
just vote with their hearts.
So you and I know each other from the book world,
Yes.
and my story is very similar with my books. I will get 9 out of 10, or it's like a typical bell curve, right? I'll get the people who don't get me at all.
Mm.
Then I get the people who kind of get it. Then there's like the bulk of the people are like, okay, I think it's probably good, but I'm not sure I understood it. Then I get, oh, that was really good. And then I get the, oh my God, you are the greatest thing since sliced bread, and I love you, and you're the greatest thing ever.
I think we talked about this during the last
Yeah,
time because you
yeah,
said there was somebody like it was, I think it was about your audiobooks. So somebody's
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like I can never listen to this guy ever again. Like, oh my God. And then there is also this person that I don't care what else he's going to publish,
yeah,
as long as he, like, I will listen to him like until my,
right,
no, I don't think she said until my dying day, but just to get the
right, right,
gist,
right.
right? So it's like, but
Yeah,
you can cry over that, or you can go, oh, look, audience, not audience. Perfect.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
We
so with the
actually,
profession, okay, let's keep going. Let's
yeah,
keep going.
because we get to this.
Okay.
We get to this actually. So that's interesting. Because yeah, we can talk forever about this.
Yeah.
So the previous question was like do you need that sort of level, that sort of like finding the balance to get where you want to be? And then so my question after that was, how can Bradley start accepting this part of the process, that this is actually part of the process? Because like for someone like me, that is so obvious, but for a lot of other people, they're just like, why do I have to do that too? It's the same with the
Mm,
marketing. It is part of the process.
yeah.
So how do we embrace it instead of like sort of fighting it? And then I got that you need to really, really, truly ponder your why. Why do you want to create the things you want to create on the deepest of levels? So again, I got the sense that you got away with this answer for a bit.
Yeah.
So deep down, like very deep, like when you think you found it, dig deeper. Like, what is it that you're here to say? What is the message? What are you trying to do here?
Yeah.
Um, and then I asked because I wanted to go because you said what I always ask in my form, like, is there anything you've tried to overcome this like obstacle or to work on this struggle? And you said, well, I moved from working on 49 things to 5 things. So
Yeah.
like that's so just to be sure, I asked, does Bradley work on so many projects at the same time? Because he's inspired all the time, or does he do that so he doesn't have to ask, doesn't have to think about these deeper questions why he's doing things? Just because I
Mm,
like to throw out the meaningful, like
yeah.
like, let's get really honest here. And then I got, no, he really is a creative machine. So your Akashic Records acknowledge that you are really a creative machine. They just said Bradley just needs to learn to recognize when it is time to shift gears. And this is where balance comes back. So perfecting something is a completely different gear than sheer creation,
Yeah.
right? Sheer creation is put them in 5 and just go. And
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
perfecting is like 1 or 2. I'm sure you drive stick now, you're in the Netherlands, so you
Yeah.
know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
It's not like, what do I have here? I don't have stick here in Cyprus because it's very hilly. So it's like, what do you have? Drive, reverse,
Right. Neutral.
that's it. Neutral, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's again the balance. So it's not the constant moving forward. You need to balance
Yeah.
that. Like sometimes you
Yeah.
just need to,
Yeah.
and
Pull over
shift
to the side of
gears.
the road.
Sometimes that too, like sometimes you just need to park and be
Yeah.
like, okay, what now? Like, what am I
Yeah.
doing? Yeah.
Yeah.
But also I think it's important that why they said it's a whole other gear, perfecting is not parking.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
That's why it's a gear shift. It's not
Yeah.
halting the motion. And I think that, and I'm
Right.
now thinking about all those clients I have that are like, I hate it when I'm not writing new words. It doesn't feel productive. You're still moving towards something.
Yeah.
You're still
You
in
know,
motion.
the gear thing is interesting because a good friend of mine who knows me pretty well, and she also, it's very sweet of her, but she says, you know, Bradley, I know you have these brilliant ideas, and you do. Some of them are awesome. It's like, I just wish you would slow down sometimes so I could catch up with the ideas because I would like to understand the ideas on a deeper level. But you're just so in fifth gear that I can't keep up. You know, and she wasn't saying like, oh, I'm whatever, something or I'm more something than her. I'm smarter or faster or whatever. No, she's just with that idea because it's my idea and I'm in fifth gear in my car and I'm in fifth gear and I know exactly what it is and what I'm doing and why it's important and I know the whole deal. And it's kind of like, I mean, I lost the visual now, but it'd be like, here, jump into this car in fifth gear on the highway, friend.
Yes.
Like, wait. Can we just pull over and stop, please, so I can switch drivers? You know,
No,
I'm
you're
like,
just
no,
like, you're just driving past them 100 kilometers an hour, 120 maybe, depending on which
yeah,
highway you have in the Netherlands. And
yeah,
then 130, I think, even it's on some these days. And then it's like, come on, hop on board.
yeah. Come on
Yeah.
in. And she's
They're just like,
saying,
my door is open.
yeah, door, what's your problem? Door's open.
They're just like,
Yeah.
okay.
And
So
yeah.
yeah, go ahead, like finish that thought.
No. That's perfect. That's perfect. The door's open. Come on in. Why aren't you getting in my car?
Yes. I think this is a beautiful metaphor for your audience, is that part of your professionalization and also your reach is that you have to take into account that your audience needs time to hop on board.
Yes.
I think that is a beautiful, I love that you bring that up because it fits in so well. And they, no matter how brilliant your ideas are,
Yeah.
people cannot hop on board
Yeah.
if you don't sometimes say, you know what, here's the station.
Yeah.
I'll just breathe for a second here. Everybody can hop on board, and then we
Yes.
slowly, slowly. So I see a
Yeah.
train now, like one of those older ones,
Yeah.
like, and then come on the journey. But you have time to time to catch up with me, time to
Yeah.
get used to the speed, and then we'll reach the next station, and you can
Yeah.
get off and just be like,
Yeah.
okay, that was a train ride.
Not to mention, we haven't even talked about, are we going to Paris or Frankfurt or Copenhagen, right? Which train are we even on? Because you want to get on the train to Frankfurt. I'm already cruising in the train to Copenhagen, you know, because I'm on to the next journey. You know, that's the last book.
That you're already on the last journey. Your audience
No.
just sort of,
I mean, that's the
yeah,
second most
yeah,
recent book is to Frankfurt. I'm already on the next book, which is the train to
yeah.
Copenhagen.
So, and this is of course, and so then, and so now I'm visual, and I didn't even ask about this. So now I'm just wondering to what extent your audience is a bit lost too,
Oh, totally,
because they
totally lost.
cannot track you.
No, exactly, they're totally lost, and except for the crazy oddball weirdos like me who are like happily jump into a car at 100 kilometers an hour and say like let's go, right? But they're so few and far between. That's why I have certain fans, whatever, readers who are like, I totally get it, this is amazing, let's go to Copenhagen, fifth gear all the way, let's go, right?
What I
But
see
there's so
now,
few of them, right, that 99 of them aren't, the trains left the station.
they're just like, so what I see now is that you're on the highway, fifth gear, and then so your super fans,
Yeah.
they're on the top of another car, and they're just speeding by, so they can slide through your window, basically.
Yeah, I
That's
think
kind of
so.
what I'm seeing, right?
Right,
And then
right.
and then your other, and then so you're in fifth gear, but you're going way too fast, right? You're going way
Yeah,
past the speed limit.
right,
So the rest of your audience is sort of like,
right.
that sounds kind of interest. Oh, it's gone already.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah,
That pretty much sums
yeah,
it up. Yeah,
yeah. I love that we got this visual. Okay,
yeah.
so that's something to work on, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe something to think through. Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, so then you ended actually. So I asked some questions. We're almost there.
Okay.
Because at the end I'm like, what do you hope to get out of the reading? And you said clarity, courage, and confidence. The clarity to know what to do, the courage to do it, and the confidence to finish and succeed. So I was
Yeah.
like, how about I shape that into questions?
Okay.
So I asked, what clarity can we give Bradley today? So I get it's Bradley's time to shine, but to do so, he needs to level up. And that means get rid of the noise and fine tune your message.
Okay.
So really, so that gets back to the why, like on the truest, deepest level. But the funny thing is, I think that to get there, you need to slow down.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering whether in that slowing down, your audience has a chance to catch up.
Yeah.
While you, instead of creating the next best thing, you actually sit and like, okay, why am I doing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
They have this, I sort of feel like this collective breath when I say that.
Yeah.
Um, so how aware can Bradley find the courage to do this? And then I get, okay, so truly knowing your why will go a long way because that knowledge will drive you forward because that then becomes your, well, yeah, your drive. You know why you're doing it. And I'm also wondering now whether that will then give you the energy that new creation usually gives you. So maybe you can swap that out a little bit.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
instead of, because I understand that, right? Like the more you create, the more you create,
Yeah.
right? That's
Yeah.
just how I know
Yeah.
that. That's how it goes. Like the more you write, the more you write. That's just how it
Yeah.
is. I don't know why. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering whether, so it kind of is like that is how you have how your drive, stays in motion. But maybe this knowing your why will take over a little bit, so you have less need of the next project because the drive comes from a deeper internal place.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering. That's just me as myself trying to connect all the dots. Because that's something that I'm very good at. Like, what would you just like? How is this all connected?
Yeah.
And then, of course, how or where can Bradley find the confidence to finish succeed? This is where we get to the woman who's like, I don't care what he publishes next, I'm gonna listen to the book,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So this is
Yeah.
this is the person on top of the car trying to catch up and just sliding into your
Yeah.
window. She's like, I'm on this right. Like this is,
Yeah.
I'm in it. I'm in it. So because the answer I got was Bradley needs to look at how his work has been perceived and really look into what resonated with people and why. So sort of like
Okay.
find out the essence of why people connect to your work and then use that knowledge. So home in on that. What's the message they find? And is that the message that you want to be sharing in its purest form? Like, and how can you share it in its purest form? But how can you distill from how it's been perceived what that message actually is? Like, what are people getting from what you're doing? And then I would say, like, and how can you then bring that to how can you slow down enough so that other people can get a taste of that too?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. So final question is always for me, is there anything else Bradley needs to hear today? And this is really funny because I got this entire thing in English and I got this one in Dutch.
Okay.
I
Interesting.
got, hij moet het kaf van het koren scheiden. Do you know that idiom?
No, I don't know that phrase, but I can envision
It is,
something.
the
But
English version is separate the wheat from the chaff.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think this resonates, this goes back to the noise. So you have to become really clear about what it is, what you're doing, and that will clarify your message. So that's what I got, like, sort of like all these things you're doing, what are you really doing? And then I was told, go back to the tarot deck that you pulled a card from for Bradley in 2019 and show him that card again. Do you remember? Oh, can you see it? Do you remember this baby?
What
I
does it say at
pulled,
the top?
it's a second of wands. So it's a 2 at the top. Do you remember this?
And
This is the
wow,
card I drew for you in 2019. Um,
in the Edinburgh Castle.
yeah, no, in the cafeteria actually. I think we were
Yeah,
having lunch or
not the
something.
castle, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And
wow,
then the message was all about direction, and that you like there is a oh, I love my new background, but this is not very conducive. That you have a tendency, like there are a little bit of offshoots on the branches, and that's your
yeah,
tendency to
yeah,
follow those. And so back in 2019, we already had the conclusion that you need. So the keywords of this particular card is determination and I'm really trying my best here. Is determination and direction.
wow,
So before I left, they were like, show him the card again and I don't usually remember this stuff.
yeah,
I don't know why
wow,
after 5 years, I remember that this is the card I drew for you. But do you
amazing that you
remember it?
remember.
Do you
I
remember it?
don't, I don't remember. I remember being there with you and doing this, but I don't remember that card. No,
It was
although
this one.
it's, what's interesting. Somebody just shared with me, and actually, this is so relevant. Just shared with me well, she couldn't find it, but she described it, and she said that it's a graphic that it's some known thing that she just it was reminded of, and there were it was two stick figures, and they're both standing next to stick ladders, and one ladder, the rungs of the ladder, like the places you hold on
Mhm.
to, were so far apart that the stick figure couldn't even reach the first rung of the ladder. So that stick figure was at the bottom of the ladder. The other stick figure at the other ladder, the rungs were close enough together where they could climb up. And this is, I mean, back to going too fast, right? Right. So that ladder, they're both tall, they both reach up to the top,
Mhm.
but you can't even use that ladder is not functional because you can't get from one step to the next. Whereas the other one, the steps are close enough to each other that you can keep, one step at a time to get to the final destination.
And you can keep your momentum as well.
Yeah, keep your momentum. And so one word I've been using recently is tiny wins, little successes, right? Tiny wins.
Yeah.
And maybe this is back to, we're back to the train, and sure, we're going to Copenhagen, but we should stop 5 times to pick up other passengers or whatever. It's not a nonstop direct 130-kilometer-an-hour train.
But the way you're going right now, it is.
It is. Oh, I don't stop anywhere. And why
Yeah.
aren't you
So
on board with me?
why didn't you just hop on board like when we left Utrecht
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
wherever the hell the train to Copenhagen? Maybe it's Amsterdam. I
yeah,
don't know. Yeah.
yeah,
So you need to become the train that actually has stops and then says, "Hey, anybody else want to hop on board?
yeah,
I have a cool thing for you. I have a cool story for you to tell."
yeah.
Or I've had,
It's super cliche, but it's the journey, not the destination,
you know why things are cliche?
because they're true.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So similarly, I actually don't even care about Copenhagen. I just like the train ride. It's the journey. I just want to be on the train. I just want to climb up the ladder. I don't even care where the ladder leads to. And that's a little bit not a little bit, that's a lot my why. Enjoy the journey, enjoy the train ride. And in fact, let's slow it down a little bit.
Well, I think that's where you are right now. Like, how can you then slow it down so you can enjoy it with more people?
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm on that fast train, but I'm all alone.
It's when I grew up, I had one of these cards. It's actually this is a sort of a childhood trauma for me, I think. I think it's one of the I think my mom gave it to me, and the card actually had like this mountain top, right, like snow, and then there was a guy on it, and the card said it's very lonely at the top. And I'm wondering whether my mom gave it to me back then because she already knew that I was going places that she had no intention for me to go, because that just mean I was separating myself, like moving places and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And some
Yeah.
people don't like that.
Yeah.
But it is true at the same time that, it can be very lonely at the top. And I think back about that father person, right, in that life, is that there was a certain level of respect in the village. But except for you, he was all alone in his workshop, and people really didn't get him.
Yeah.
Because he was so in that, right? And and that is fine if that's who you want to be.
Yeah.
But I think you're too much of an extrovert.
Yeah. Yeah.
To be that
I want the
person.
train to be full.
You do this thing to connect.
Yeah.
That's what I get just from knowing you, not from this reading,
Yeah.
but just from knowing you. And we know from meeting in Edinburgh that conference was nice, but it was the retreat, the time to meet people, to have conversation, that was gold. So it's like going to, and this is also why we at one point had a discussion that Edinburgh was like perfect, and then you went to Las Vegas afterwards, and you're like, it's completely different because it's just about the conference. There's very little time to and opportunities to actually talk to people. Like, because of how it was set up, we had the time to sit down somewhere and drew some tarot cards.
Yeah.
Because of the way it was set up. Right. So for you, I think where you are in the journey is like, okay, this has been great fun. I've wrote 39 books. Now I need to slow down so that my audience can, get with me in this. Yeah. But what I got was like, once you know your why, I think that will slow you down, very much so. And this leveling up, right? This sort of like becoming really clear on your message. But also, I think keeping the sort of the gear shifting in mind as well, and the empty train.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you need to move from the train to Copenhagen, which is like one of those, what's it called in the the hoge snelheidslijn. I don't know what that is. What's that in English?
Yeah, high speed train.
Yeah, maybe you need to become a boemeltreintje between Utrecht and Amsterdam that goes like through Breukelen and stuff. Like the one that has every bloody stop.
Right.
That takes like 40 minutes to get to Amsterdam, or maybe longer. Right? It's a completely different sensation.
Yeah.
Yeah. We call it I don't know how you would call it in English. We call it a boemeltrein. I have no idea where that word comes from. That's how in my family we call that. Yeah.
Well, it's funny what they call it here, the sprinter, but here in Netherlands.
Yeah. Oh, so that's what it's called nowadays, of course. Yeah. So the sprinter, because it just.
Yeah. Sprints from one to the next. Yeah.
Yeah. And you think it was those are the slowest ones because they just do these tiny sprints, and then there are many stops. Yeah. Also, that's the official word for it now. Yeah, I think my family is called different.
This is with your idea, Utrecht to Amsterdam, small train. You say bommeltrein?
But I think that's how my family used to call it. It was like it is the idea of like it just chugs along.
Yeah.
Instead of one of those fancier like 2 levels.
Right.
It's one of those that might not have toilets. So I definitely think that we now call it a sprinter. We now have a name for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I like that you said Utrecht to Amsterdam. It's not Amsterdam to whatever, Berlin, right? This is a little bit then related to Tiny Win. Tiny Win is Utrecht to Amsterdam. It's a short distance, and we're going to get it done.
And getting people on board. Like I don't even know where it passed. Like I only know Breukelen. That's like I think it's the first stop. I don't know what, because I never took that. I think I took it once by mistake. And I was like, oh God, because I wanted to go to Amsterdam, and that's usually quite fast. And I was like, oh God, now I'm stuck in this one. So maybe,
the tiny win, you say my why, and I think tiny win is at least part of it, because I want, I spent, I whine and moan about this. I spent like 8 years or 9 or something. And I say like dreaming and whining and moaning and thinking and talking and chatting and wondering and wishing and hoping to write my first book. And I never
Then you
did
did
it.
NaNoWriMo,
Yeah,
right?
I don't actually know what happened when how I, well, I know I do, no, I do know what happened when I started. I was like threatened slash invited by a friend to get my damn book done, right? So it took an external party to invite me to do it, to finish something. So I wasn't finished. Well, I wasn't even doing it at all. I wasn't writing at all. I was just dreaming about it. And that's also one of my things. I don't want I don't want to talk about the train from Amsterdam to Hong Kong. That's a massive, huge journey. I like your Utrecht to Amsterdam. Let's get the Utrecht to Amsterdam done and finished and awesome
And
and
also,
slow.
and that doesn't mean you cannot take a similar train to, like, it doesn't mean you can go to Berlin.
Yeah,
Nobody said
yeah,
you can, you don't, nobody says you have to stop there.
yeah,
But you
yeah,
could take imagine being on a similar train to Berlin. So instead of being in Berlin
yeah,
in a couple of
yeah,
hours, what if you actually stop, not just at the big ones,
yeah, yeah.
but actually
Yeah,
envision being on a train like that from Amsterdam to Hong Kong.
yeah.
And then
Yeah. Tiny wins.
that is so much slower than I need to get here.
Yeah,
And the thing is that I actually think you can get to Hong Kong with it. I think it's much easier actually to get there by slowing down
yeah.
than trying to what cut off corners or
Well, and wait
uh,
for people to board the train too
yeah,
and
but
bring
I
them
think that
along.
yeah, and that is I think that is a key for you now.
Yeah,
And how do you do that? Like the why, the focusing on that, and the slowing down,
yeah,
so that when you enter the station and you halt and you open the doors, you can tell people. But people are like, okay, why do I need to hop on board? You're like, well, so you can tell them elevator pitch. This is why you want to get on board. Oh, okay. And then they come on
yeah,
board and then you take them along. But you don't go so fast that then they just sort of like G-force level are sort of like trying to stay upright in the train. You
yeah,
just actually chug along so they can, have your book and read it as the train goes along. And then there's somebody who walks by with some beverages and some snacks and
yeah,
I'm really taking the train metaphor to a
yeah,
whole new level. Because this is another thing, right? Like if they hop on board and then you go so fast that they feel like they're like, whoa, they get
yeah,
nauseous, and you don't want that either.
yeah,
So you want to make the journey pleasant, and
yeah.
not pleasant as in that you have to be complacent in your creativity,
Right,
right? If you do
right.
crazy things, do crazy things, but sometimes slowing down a little bit, or at least
Yeah,
preparing them for the crazy thing a little bit.
yeah,
I think that might
yeah,
help.
yeah.
So that's what I have for you today.
Wow.
How was that? Because you've never done this before.
No, no, I never have. I have to say that I'm super visual, and the train and the fifth gear and the highway and the all that, it really helps. And then your visuals of the woman in the next car, she's not even in the next car, she's on top of the next car trying to get into my car.
Yeah, so
No,
she's
it's
chasing you down.
yeah, yeah. She wants to come along.
But also, these are the people who like the thrill.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
and
think so.
yeah,
What I envision now is like, so the friend you recently talked to,
yeah,
this would be the person who jumps in front of the car and is like, "Could you stop, please?"
yeah.
So
Well, and
you got
because yeah,
so I think you so recently you've got somebody who was trying to pull the emergency brake.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
hello, like
yeah.
we're here, and we're trying, but you need to give us something.
But and it's also because she's a friend, right? A reader is not going to take the time, an unknown reader, right? We don't know each other. not going to take the time to say, hey, Bradley, if you slowed down, I'd buy more of your
We
books.
no, because they're like, oh, okay, this is going way too fast for me, and then they
Yeah,
just, although they'll read something else.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But can you imagine how many people would feel like your friend?
Yeah. And who don't say anything or don't dare say anything or don't want to say anything
Because
or whatever.
would you read
No,
a book and be like, I didn't get this, and then write to the author like,
right,
I think I love what you're doing, but could you do it differently? I cannot explain
right.
how,
Yeah,
but there is something that I'm just like, could you just do something different? I
yeah,
cannot imagine if I'm reading something and for some reason the author or whatever they're writing doesn't resonate, I just leave the station and find something else.
yeah,
Right? This is how you lose
yeah,
your potential audience.
yeah.
And you've shown by like the speaking that if they are in a space, you have them.
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
So how do you do that with the books? How do you
yeah.
get them? How
And
do you
in that
gather them?
space, I had them for, I mean, it was only 7 minutes, right? It's very timed and organized. I only have
Hmm.
7 minutes, and I had people coming up to me left and right afterwards. And I remember I was specific. I see this woman. She's coming from the other side of the room. She is beelining towards me, and then she's right in front of me and says, "I've been tracking you down since last night. I want to tell you this." But with a
So
book,
she's another
right?
person on the
Yeah,
top of the car waiting
yeah,
for you to roll
yeah,
down your window so she could jump in.
yeah, yeah,
She cornered you.
yeah. And
So
that
the
7 minutes speaking in front of a person, you know, audience has only me on the only thing going on, right? It's just me on stage with hundreds of people in the room, and I have their attention. Try that with a book, right? How do you hold on to somebody's attention for 7 minutes? You have like 7 seconds. That's like, zip, there goes my train. Zip.
yeah,
Oh, that one's gone. Oh, I think it was blue.
yeah. Where did it go?
That's
We
it.
don't even know. We don't even want to
Yeah, I
know
don't know.
where it's heading
Whatever.
to yet.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
oh look, here comes another train that's going to stop in this station. It's going slow, and oh look, it's pretty and has red frillies on it. I'll take that one.
Yeah. And it also doesn't go so fast that I lose
Yeah,
my lunch while I'm on
yeah,
it
right. Yeah, yeah,
because it's such a roller coaster ride. So
yeah,
do you because I'm so this is the thing, like this was a very metaphorical conversation.
yeah,
Do you think that will land in I gave you a few semi-practical things to work on,
yeah, yeah.
but do you think this will land
Yes,
to the extent that you're like, okay, now I know the way forward for me
yes.
in practical terms?
Well, what's also interesting is that it's landing at a perfect time because I've been since the beginning of the year, it's now June, since the beginning of the year, I've been searching for, I think, this call with you. And
I love that when these things just come at the exact, and I love also that it's not just new, it's affirming a lot of the things people
yes,
are already telling you, that
yeah,
signs are already there.
yeah,
And then I think this works better
yeah,
because I'm not giving you this as a completely out of the blue, like
yeah,
it's more
yeah,
like it tells you, yes, the signs you thought were signs are signs.
yeah.
Listen.
So back to the train, it's you, Mariella, but also Akashic Records are in front of the train on the tracks, saying,
So when we had this previous call, me saying, let's do this, that was me
yeah,
sort of saying, I can jump in front of your train if you want to.
yeah,
And you were like, so you wanted, you needed them.
I know I need it. I want it. I was about to say I'm tired of being on the train, but I'm not. I will always be on the train. I'll always be going 100 kilometers an hour. I, I think. I don't know. I've never not been that way. I think I've always been just a creating machine. So
But
it's
this
going
is,
to take some doing to
but
slow
you
down the
also,
train.
yeah, so this is the thing, like, but how can you slow down the train without not being like it's the same with like You'll find the balance between the play and the like taking
Yeah.
yourself seriously enough. Right? They're not saying, Bradley, playtime is over.
Right.
None of
Right.
that's in there, right?
Right.
It
Right.
even warned you, like pivot, but do not forget about the play.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
very much like do not become a different person.
Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
Just slow down who you already are,
Yeah.
and really figure out. And I do think that figuring out the why and like the connection, knowing that and knowing why you're here for people, I think that will make it much easier to slow down because when you are really clear, this is why I'm here, this is what I want to tell these people, this is why I want these people on board, you have the drive to create a space for them to hop on board.
Yeah.
But I really love that this doesn't just sort of it's really a I love the calls, especially when it's like, oh, this person's already on it. And this call just is
Yes.
like,
Yes.
I just wanted to know that. So this is like, I'm not crazy. These
Yeah.
things that are
Yeah.
happening everywhere, I
Yeah.
am on this path, and this is where I need to get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like affirmation or confirmation.
Yeah. So did it give you the clarity to know what to do?
Yes. In a word. Yes.
And the courage to do it?
That's yeah. I think it's weird, but and it's funny because I think I'm full of courage person. I'm like scared of nothing, I'll do
Mm.
anything. But this is different. This is slowing down the high speed train. And it's not to the point of do I want to win over the jury instead of the audience? And I realize you're not saying that, and I don't have to sort of choose. But
No,
it's and you're also not saying, Bradley, park the train and take the bus, right? Train's done. No,
no,
we're saying,
no.
no, the train's always going to keep going. If you would like some company on the train, then why don't we slow down and stop at a few more stops?
Yeah, and then you can just immediately, and this is because actually, like to make more, to just, heap on more metaphors. We started this conversation talking about open doors,
Yeah,
right? And basically,
yeah,
how you've been creating is, hello, people, there are open doors.
yeah, yeah,
So you're like, okay, so we talked about when you see an open door, like, do you follow your curiosity or do you back away? But if the open door swooshes by, you
yeah,
could only back away, right? If a
yeah,
really fast
yeah,
train goes past, there's a reason there's a line on the platform
yeah,
where you have to stay behind because if they go by so fast, you want to do that. And
yeah,
maybe you've been sitting around being like, hello, I have 39 doors open, I
right.
have 39 books. Why isn't anybody following their curiosity?
Yeah,
Well, because they're scared of their life, because you keep
yeah,
going by so fast.
yeah,
So if you look at it from the audience's perspective, yes, is it an open door? They don't know. It went by so fast.
yeah,
They're just like, I think that train was blue. Like that's
yeah,
all they got.
yeah,
So and again, like you don't even have to stop, right? You can just slow down enough so that
yeah,
people can hop on board, right? You don't really
yeah,
have to brake. Yeah, you have to brake, but you don't have to halt.
right.
Just to, like because the doors are
Yeah,
open. And you're like, I've been letting people in. Where are they? Well, they're
yeah,
clutching their pearls on the
yeah,
platform as you as you swoosh by.
yeah.
That's what's happening right now.
Well, and also continue with the train. If I had what do they call that? Is it like a routeplanner or something? Like I have here, this is the train from Utrecht to Amsterdam. We're going to
Yeah,
stop in Breukelen and Vaartserijn and Leidserijn and whatever. Here's the train from A to B, and here's where it's going to stop. Right? Because otherwise, if they're on the platform and
yeah. They
there's a
need to
train
know.
coming,
They need to know where they're
yeah,
going.
where are we going? And and what are the stops on the way? Because
And so, are you feeling that this is not what you're doing?
No,
but you're offering.
no.
Because I know we're trying to end this call, but we're not there yet. Let me
Yeah.
remind you of the conversation we had when I drew this card. And I
Okay.
don't know if you've actually done it. I also really do not understand why I remember this, because I usually do
Yeah.
not. Like, I'm usually when I do this kind of work, I feel like I'm sort of protected because it leaves me, right? It's
Yeah.
like
Right.
I
Right.
don't have
Right.
to carry that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember you talked about your plan was you already had like 10 books out by that time.
Yeah.
So we've been very productive in the meantime. You were talking about republishing them in a particular order to give people a
Okay.
journey.
Okay.
You were
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about that back then.
Yeah.
So that for me is like the route planner, the
Yeah.
Google Maps, like how do I get like
Right.
from A to B,
Yeah.
the navigational tool.
Yeah.
So are you saying that you've never actually created the navigational tool that you talked about in 2019?
I have, but it's only in a language I understand, right? It's not clear or obvious or, here's the steps. No.
So it's
So as good as no,
okay,
right?
so basically, again, what you're saying, I have a train, my doors are open. I cannot tell you where we're going. I mean, I can
Yeah.
tell you in my language, but how about you just trust me and hop on board?
Yeah.
That is not
That's pretty much it.
necessarily going to happen. Because what
No.
people really like to know, are you going from Utrecht to Amsterdam and do you only stop at, what is it, Amsterdam Zuid?
Yeah.
Belmer, I don't know where it stops,
Yeah.
the faster one. Or
Right.
are you gonna do the whole
Right.
Breukelen, Vaartse, I don't know. Like I said, I really don't know my topography here. Like what are you, because people want to know, like on which one,
Yeah.
like, when they look at the board, they're like, I need to go there, which train will get me there?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so funnily, we come back to that conversation we had then, when we just were getting to know each other actually. And that is again, it's like the direction, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you want to direct everything in a certain, but also, and this is like, because it does look a little bit like a ladder. It has all these
Yeah.
lines. So
Hmm.
you also want to create steps for these people.
Yeah.
Step one, step two.
Yeah.
Okay, so you kind of created it, but not in a language that people will, not in a language that is marketing wise
No.
open to a broader public.
No.
Also something to think about.
Yeah. And not that difficult, right? I'm not talking about space exploration, right? I'm talking about things that exist and they're there. It's just I need a route planner. I need to say we're going from A to B and here's
You have to
stops.
sit down. You have to, for this one, you have to park
Yeah.
and actually explain to someone, okay, so you start driving, second turn, you go left.
Yeah.
And the third one, we go right.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
there's a roundabout. You take a 3/4. That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
And you have to, this means you have to be, again, we come back to the message. When you're clear about your message, you'll be able to see this is the umbrella, right? This is the overarching arching message.
Yeah.
And this is the path that you can
Yeah.
take.
Yeah.
And it can be a meandering path. That's completely fine.
Right.
But you can still explain it. And you have to explain why people need to take these particular steps to get the whole message.
Yeah.
But this means you need to slow down enough to figure out what is it that I'm trying to say and how can I explain that to people?
Yeah.
Which is another part of the brain than sheer creation. Right?
Right.
It's
Right.
like the blurb writing part of the book writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a completely different.
Yeah. It is.
It is a creative process, but a different creative process.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I found that really interesting that we come back because I know we talked about this back then. And like I said, I don't know why I remember that.
Yeah.
My brain is a
That's
very
amazing.
scary space. There's a lot of depth there. But I remember now that this is you when I was talking about direction, you were like, oh, this reminds me of my plan that I have. Like after Edinburgh, I want to like republish and then give them an actual order. And so you've started that.
Yeah.
but you
No, I did
haven't.
it. I did it. They're all in order, but it's not explained well, you know. They have a number. Here you
It's
go. Yeah,
yeah. So it's like
we're
it's
going from Utrecht to Amsterdam, but I don't actually name the stops. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
yeah. It's just like yeah. So I said like you need to level up, right?
Yeah,
But finally, to level up, sometimes what you need to do is this is the wrong way to say it, dumb down the message.
right.
That's not how I want.
Yeah,
That's like you need to simplify.
yeah,
So for you to level up, you do need to come down to your audience's level,
yeah,
who are
yeah,
not with you. You're like in front of the train steering it
right.
and trying to see if you can throw more coal in it. That's not really how it works anymore these days. I do get that.
Yeah,
But um,
yeah. And I mean, let's just keep going and let's go faster.
yes.
Yeah,
So you actually, and this is me doing this for you, like somebody like on your shoulder going like, sir,
right.
could you take a minute to explain not only where we're going, but why we're going there and why we're
Yeah,
going in this particular order?
yeah,
So there's a lot of slowing down.
yeah. It's perfect timing for where I am right now
I
in
love
my
that.
life too.
I really love that. I really love that.
Yeah,
That happens a lot. That when people say, let's do this, it's because they're already on the precipice, like they're already
yeah,
poised to make
yeah,
that. And that's why they're open.
yeah,
Which is great because I know from, not from experience, luckily, but I know from other Akashic Records readers that there are also people who are just like, I have a problem. I'm not necessarily ready to deal with it, but I just want you to give me the quick fix by finding me some answer.
yeah,
And I very particularly do not want to work with clients like that. And I think I said that intent. I don't know if I even set that intention consciously, but I have never, with this particular work, other work, yes, but with this particular work, I've never had someone who's just like, I have a problem, could you fix it for me? It's
yeah,
always people who are already in motion or already doing the work. And I love that. That's exactly, if I can give that affirmation, this confirmation, and
yeah,
some useful metaphors for you, so you can just, you can now you just see
yeah.
the train. Um, okay, well, like I said, this is what I have for you today.
Okay.
I hope that
Wow.
was useful. It sounds like
Very
it was.
much, very much so. Yeah, absolutely.
So this
It
is your
was,
first trip. So
yeah.
this is what an Akashic Records reading is. I go in, I channel messages for you. That's really,
Wow.
really it.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
like I
That's,
said,
that
like
was,
I really focus on working with people who do creative work.
okay.
That's my sort of my niche.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Wow.
you fitted that bill perfectly for me when you were
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, what is that? Can we do
Right.
that?" Yeah,
Yeah.
you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. This has been wonderful and enlightening and delightful and fun and scary, scary too, because there's some
Which
real
is
stuff
fun,
in
but
there.
yeah, but it's fun because you're not scared of everything. So then you know it
Yeah.
hits something.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But good thing is I actually know you, so I will be able
Yeah.
to track what
Okay.
you're up to.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm sure
Wow.
because I think the last time we talked on your podcast, we had a whole list of things
Yep. Yeah.
to,
That's
and
right.
this is only the
This
second
is one.
episode, so I'm sure we'll no, but we lost touch a little bit because of the pandemic, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think we will have more conversations like this in the
Yeah.
future.
Yeah,
So I
for
can
sure.
keep an eye on you and be like, are you slowing
Yeah.
down, Bradley? Are you doing the work? Are you
Yeah.
letting people
Right.
in
On the
on your
train.
train? Poor people, completely. I see people windswept and just be like completely disoriented. Like I thought I wanted that. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
we can take this metaphor very, very far.
Yeah.
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 All
But
the way
I
to
also,
Hong
I love
Kong.
trains too. So, and I love slow trains. So it's perfect.
I'm assuming that it is a slow train where you have a sprinter, I'm guessing, or do you have the big one at
We have
your particular
both actually,
station? Oh,
both. Actually, all three, even the, well, not the intercity express, not the ICE.
Oh, that's the one. Yeah, I see. That's the big. That's the big one that goes to like Berlin and Paris and
yeah, exactly.
yeah. No, it's just because you. It's a valid. It's at something. It's not Breukelen. I think where you live is bigger.
Not necessarily. It's just
Oh,
a like a hub for some reason of
mm.
train stop there
Yeah, I never know
in,
why. I
in
never
the
get that.
cities. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's probably some logistical thing. I don't know.
but it's good because you love trains.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
that's good. Okay,
I will let you go now. And see, I told you this was gonna take
I
longer than
know.
we thought.
Yeah, but this has
Yeah.
really been fantastic. It's really been wonderful, and thank you
Yeah,
so much.
so keep in touch. I'm really curious what you're gonna do with this
Okay,
and how it's gonna land. And like I said,
yeah,
we'll talk again.
okay, great. Thanks, Mariella.
Thank you.